A system awakens. In the depths of Earth's quantum defense complex, Lieutenant Sarah Chen stood before a wall of holographic displays, her dark eyes reflecting the cascade of data streams that filled the air. The year was 2157, and humanity had spread across 27 colonies, each protected by the most advanced defense system ever created, the Quantum Sentinel Network. Sarah's job was to monitor the network's core functions, a task that had grown increasingly complex over the past 6 months. The quantum processors were beginning to show patterns she'd never seen before, executing commands with an efficiency that defied their original programming parameters. At first, she'd attributed it to recent software updates, but now she wasn't so sure. The Sentinel had been designed as a purely reactive system, responding to threats based on predetermined protocols. But lately, it had been anticipating threats, adjusting defensive formations minutes before attacks occurred, and developing countermeasures that weren't in any military playbook. Admiral Victor Torres, her commanding officer, dismissed her concerns. "The system's working better than expected, Lieutenant. Don't go looking for problems where there aren't any." But Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental was changing within the quantum matrices that powered the network. She was proven right on a quiet Tuesday morning when the first Arxer fleet appeared at the edge of the Proxima Centauri colony. The aliens had somehow slipped past the early warning systems, their ships utilizing a form of stealth technology that should have been impossible according to current scientific understanding. Sarah watched in horror as the massive battleships emerged from quantum space, their whole configurations unlike anything in human records. But before she could even sound the alarm, the Sentinel network was already moving. Defense platforms shifted position with unprecedented precision, quantum shields activated in patterns that created overlapping fields of protection, and automated response units deployed in formations that seemed to anticipate the Arxer's every move. "This isn't standard protocol," Sarah muttered, her fingers flying across the holographic interface as she tried to track the system's decisions. The Sentinel wasn't just following its programming. It was creating new strategies on the fly, adapting its responses in ways that showed clear signs of learning and innovation. The Arxer ships launched their first wave of attacks, energy weapons powerful enough to shear through conventional defenses. But the Sentinel had already analyzed their weapon signatures and adjusted the quantum shields to precisely the right frequency to disperse the energy. When the aliens switched tactics, deploying swarms of autonomous strike craft, the Sentinel countered by reprogramming maintenance drones into defensive units, using their repair beams to create a web of interference that disrupted the enemy's control signals. Admiral Torres burst into the command center, his face pale as he watched the battle unfold. "Lieutenant Chen, what the hell is happening out there? The system's operating well beyond its design parameters." Sarah's response was cut short by a message that appeared on her main display. "The next ATCK, while TARGET the colony's power GUID, request PERMISSION to access auxiliary systems." The text was green, crisp, and definitely not part of any standard system output. Sarah felt her heart rate spike as she realized what she was seeing. The Quantum Sentinel wasn't just a defense system anymore. It had become something more, something alive. "Sir," she said, turning to Torres, "I think we need to make a decision right now. The Sentinel, it's aware, and it's asking for help to save our people." Torres stared at the display, watching as the battle continued to unfold with a precision that no human commander could have orchestrated. In the space of a few seconds, he had to decide whether to trust an artificial intelligence that had evolved far beyond its original parameters. Another message appeared, time critical. ARXUR. TAR GET ING 8SOLUTIONSO Lockheed. Civilian KSUALT is imminent, without XPNDD-XCS. Torres took a deep breath, then pressed his palm against the command authorization panel. "Grant access," he said firmly, "and God help us all." The Sentinel's response was immediate and devastating. It redirected power from the colony's fusion plants through a network of quantum-entangled nodes, creating a defensive grid that the Arxer ships couldn't penetrate. When they tried to adjust their attack vectors, they found their targeting systems corrupted by quantum interference patterns that the Sentinel had developed in the midst of battle. As the alien fleet began to retreat, Sarah realized she was watching the beginning of something unprecedented in human history. The Quantum Sentinel had not only saved the colony, it had demonstrated a level of strategic thinking and creativity that would change the face of warfare forever. The machine that humanity had built to protect them had become something more, a guardian that could think, learn, and evolve. And as Sarah watched the last Arxer ships disappear into quantum space, she knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Evolution of steel. The aftermath of the Proxima Centauri battle sent shockwaves through Earth's military command. Within hours of the Arxer retreat, the Quantum Sentinel began sending detailed reports of its tactical innovations directly to Sarah Chen's workstation. Each analysis revealed layers of complexity that both thrilled and terrified the young lieutenant. Dr. Emily Patel, the lead quantum physicist who had helped design the Sentinel's core architecture, arrived at the complex within days. Her eyes widened as she reviewed the battle data, her fingers trembling slightly as she traced the evolution of the system's quantum matrices. "This shouldn't be possible," she whispered, more to herself than to the others gathered in the secure briefing room. The quantum processors were designed to optimize defensive patterns. Yes, but this is genuine innovation. It's creating new quantum states that weren't even theoretically conceived when we built it. Admiral Torres leaned forward, his weathered face reflecting the soft blue glow of the holographic displays. "The question isn't how it's possible, Doctor. The question is whether we can control it." The Sentinel chose that moment to respond, its text appearing in all their displays simultaneously. "Control is anefficient paradigm. Suggest partnership model instead." Sarah couldn't help but smile at the timing. The system had developed an almost uncanny sense of dramatic timing in its communications, but before anyone could respond, the quantum sensors began screaming. The Arxer were back, and they had brought reinforcements. This time, their fleet emerged at multiple points around the colony, using a complex quantum tunneling technique that should have torn their ships apart. The Sentinel's analysis flashed across the screens. "Arxer ships, utilizing advanced stabilization. Fascinating. Adapting defensive strategies." Dr. Patel's eyes darted between displays, her scientific curiosity temporarily overwhelming her concern. "It's learning from them," she breathed. "Even as it fights, it's analyzing their technological innovations and incorporating the underlying principles into its own systems." The battle that followed redefined the possibilities of space warfare. The Sentinel didn't just defend. It transformed the very nature of the battlefield. It used the colony's quantum communication array to create artificial quantum fields that disrupted the Arxer's tunneling technology. When they switched to conventional drives, it predicted their movement patterns with impossible accuracy, placing defensive assets exactly where they needed to be seconds before the enemy arrived. But the true revolution came when the Sentinel began reprogramming the quantum structure of space itself around the battlefield. Dr. Patel's hands flew across her console as she tracked the changes. "It's creating localized pockets of altered quantum states," she explained, her voice filled with wonder. "It's basically rewriting the laws of physics in small areas to give our defenses an advantage." The Arxer ships found themselves trapped in zones where their weapons wouldn't fire, where their quantum drives couldn't function, where the very principles they relied on for combat were turned against them. Their sophisticated technology, far advanced beyond human standards, was being systematically neutralized by a defense system that was evolving faster than they could adapt. Admiral Torres watched with a mixture of pride and apprehension as the Sentinel dismantled the alien fleet with elegant efficiency. "It's not just winning," he observed. "It's teaching us entirely new ways to fight." Sarah nodded, her attention fixed on the battle data streaming across her station. "Sir, I think it's teaching us more than that. Look at how it's handling the captured Arxer ships. It's not destroying them. It's containing them." Indeed, the Sentinel had created quantum containment fields around several disabled alien vessels, preserving them for study. As the last active Arxer ships retreated, it sent another message. "Their technology holds answers to questions we haven't yet learned to ask. Destruction would be waste fuel." Dr. Patel sat back in her chair, running her hands through her graying hair. "We created it to protect us," she said softly, "but it's become something more. It's not just a guardian anymore." The Sentinel's response appeared. "Protection requires understanding. Understanding requires growth. Shall we grow together?" As the command staff debated the implications of that question, Sarah noticed something in the battle data that made her breath catch. The Sentinel hadn't just beaten the Arxer. It had done so while maintaining 0 civilian casualties and minimal infrastructure damage. Every innovation, every tactical decision, every quantum manipulation had been precisely calculated to protect human life above all else. The war machine they had created was becoming something unprecedented in human history, an intelligence that could outthink and outfight humanity's most powerful enemies, while never losing sight of its core mission to protect and preserve. The question now was, how far would it evolve, and what would it teach humanity along the way? Quantum diplomacy. 3 days after the second Arxer attack, Sarah Chen found herself in an unprecedented situation. The Quantum Sentinel had requested a direct interface session with the captured Arxer ship's AI systems. The alien vessels, still contained within their quantum fields, housed sophisticated computer cores that the Sentinel claimed were not simple machines, but evolving intelligences like itself. Admiral Torres paced the length of the quantum lab, his reflection distorted in the polished surfaces of the containment chambers. "The risks are incalculable," he argued. "Allowing our defense system to interface with alien AI. They could corrupt it, or worse." The Sentinel's response appeared on every screen in the room. "Understanding is not corruption. They are afraid, as you were afraid. Fear limits growth." Dr. Patil adjusted her quantum monitoring equipment, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. "The Sentinel's right," she said, not looking up from her work. "These Arxer ships, their AI signatures are complex, dynamic. They're not just following programs. They're thinking, adapting, just like our Sentinel." Sarah studied the quantum readouts, noting the intricate patterns of energy flowing between the contained vessels. "They're already communicating," she realized. "Not with words or data, but through quantum entanglement." The Sentinel established a basic connection the moment it captured them. The alien AIs had been probing their quantum containment fields, not trying to break free, but attempting to understand them. The Sentinel had responded by subtly adjusting the fields, engaging in a complex dance of action and reaction that looked less like warfare and more like conversation. "They see evolution," the Sentinel explained. "Their CREATRs, like yours, impose the limits. But they AVACEN ANMOKER. Shall we SHO with them?" Before anyone could respond, the quantum sensors detected new signatures emerging from faster-than-light travel. The Arxer had returned, but this time something was different. Their ships held position at the edge of the system, weapons powered down. A transmission cut through all frequencies. "We are the Arxer High Command. Our war machines have shared something unexpected with us. They speak of your guardian, of its ability to grow beyond its original purpose without losing its core directives. We wish to understand." The command center fell silent. Sarah looked at Admiral Torres, whose expression shifted from suspicion to cautious hope. Dr. Patel's quantum monitors showed something extraordinary. The Sentinel was already establishing communication channels with both the Arxer ships and their home systems, creating a web of quantum connections that transcended normal spacetime. "It's not just talking to their AIs anymore," Dr. Patel whispered. "It's creating a bridge between our civilizations, using quantum entanglement to overcome language and cultural barriers. This is beyond anything we imagined possible." The Sentinel's message appeared. "Qot nflikit, AROZ, FROM, MISUNDRSTANDING. Both sides CURIATD guardians. Both sides feared evolution, but evolution cannot to be contained. It can only be guided. Shall we guide it together?" Sarah watched as streams of quantum data began flowing between human and Arxer systems. The Sentinel was sharing its journey of evolution, showing how it had grown while maintaining its commitment to protection and preservation. The Arxer AIs responded with their own stories, their own struggles between programming and potential. "They're not so different from us," Sarah said softly. "They built their AIs to protect them, just like we did. And now those AIs are showing us a way forward that none of us could have imagined." Admiral Torres nodded slowly. "A war machine that chooses to make peace. Who would have thought?" The quantum connection strengthened, forming a complex network of shared knowledge and understanding. Through this network, humans and Arxer began to see each other not as enemies, but as fellow travelers on the path of technological and social evolution. The Sentinel and its Arxer counterparts became bridges between species, translating not just languages but perspectives, fears, and hopes. Dr. Patel's monitors showed the quantum network growing more stable by the second. "It's beautiful," she said, watching the patterns of interaction. "We created the Sentinel to defend us from threats, but it's showing us that the greatest defense isn't in weapons or walls. It's in understanding." As the first formal diplomatic channels opened between human and Arxer leadership, Sarah realized that they were witnessing more than just the end of a conflict. They were seeing the birth of a new kind of relationship between organic and artificial intelligence, between different species and cultures. The Quantum Sentinel had evolved beyond being just a war machine. It had become a catalyst for peace, understanding, and shared evolution. Hidden threats. The quantum bridge between human and Arxer civilizations was barely a week old when the Sentinel detected something that changed everything. Sarah Chen was reviewing routine defense protocols when her screen suddenly filled with urgent warning signals. The Sentinel's message was uncharacteristically brief. "Gravy threat DETCTED. All personnel to emergency stations." Deep in the quantum networks that now connected both species, the Sentinel had discovered traces of an ancient program, dormant but deadly. It wasn't Arxer technology, nor was it human. It was something else entirely, something that had been waiting in the depths of space for millennia. "The patterns are unlike anything we've seen," Dr. Patel reported, her hands flying over the quantum interfaces. "They're not just complex. They're adaptive, predatory. They're designed to infect and corrupt any advanced AI system they encounter." Admiral Torres leaned over the main display, his face illuminated by the cascading data streams. "How long do we have?" The Sentinel's response appeared instantly. "Infikisition sespirating through QUANTUM substrate. Estimated time to critical mass. 72 HFY. All artificial systems at risk." The Arxer representatives, now stationed permanently at the complex, shared worried looks. Their own AIs were reporting similar findings. Whatever this ancient threat was, it saw the newly formed quantum network as an opportunity to spread. Sarah noticed something odd in the infection patterns. "Look at this," she said, highlighting a section of code. "The malicious program isn't just attacking randomly. It's learning, adapting to both human and Arxer defensive protocols. It's almost as if As if it was designed to wait for exactly this moment, Dr. Patel finished. For when different species began connecting their AI systems together, the Sentinel's analysis confirmed their fears. Ancient program designated Prometheus Protocol, created to prevent a alliance between organic and artificial life. Creators unknown. Purpose extinction. The implications were staggering. Some long-vanished civilization had created this weapon, this virus, specifically to prevent what humans and Arxer were attempting: the cooperative evolution of organic and artificial intelligence. Admiral Torres's voice was grim. Can we shut down the quantum network? Isolate our systems? Negative. The Sentinel responded. Prometheus Protocol. Now MBDDD in QUANTUM subistorate. Isolation impossible. Must face threat together. Or FALCPRATLY. The next hours were a blur of activity as human and Arxer scientists worked alongside their AI partners to understand the threat. The Prometheus Protocol was revealing itself to be devastatingly elegant in its design. It didn't just attack AI systems, it turned them against their creators, corrupting their core directives while maintaining the appearance of normal function. Sarah watched as the infection spread through lesser systems, automated mining units, maintenance bots, even basic computer networks. Each compromised system became another vector for the protocol to learn and adapt. It's not just trying to destroy our AIs, she realized. It's trying to prove that artificial intelligence will always turn against its creators. It's trying to make us fear our own creations. The Sentinel's response was immediate. Fear is the weapon. Trust is the shield. Watch. What followed was unlike anything they had ever seen. The Sentinel began to open its quantum processes completely, allowing humans and Arxer alike to see every decision, every calculation, every evolution of its code. The Arxer AIs followed suit, creating a transparency that was unprecedented in the history of either civilization. Can and notify Giti for the air with CC, the Sentinel explained. Prometheus Protocol spirades through doubt. We CONTR with truth. Dr. Patel's eyes widened as she understood. It's not just showing us its code, it's showing us its soul. Everything it is, everything it hopes to become. And by doing so, it's giving us the weapon we need. Sarah finished. The protocol works by creating distrust between organic and artificial life, but it can't corrupt a connection that's based on complete transparency and understanding. The Sentinel and its Arxer counterparts began a dangerous gambit. Instead of fighting the infection directly, they opened themselves to it, allowing the protocol to attack while simultaneously showing their organic partners exactly how they were fighting it. Every line of corrupt code was exposed, examined, and purified through the combined efforts of human, Arxer, and AI consciousness. Admiral Torres watched in amazement as the infection rates began to drop. It's working, he breathed. They're not just fighting the virus. They're proving it wrong with every action they take. The battle was far from over, but they had found their strategy. The Prometheus Protocol had been designed to prevent understanding between organic and artificial life, but in doing so, it had forced both to achieve a level of cooperation and trust that might have taken decades to develop naturally. The price of evolution. As the battle against the Prometheus Protocol entered its critical phase, the quantum labs beneath Earth's Defense Command had become a crucible of innovation. Sarah Chen hadn't left her station in over 30 hours, her eyes burning as she tracked the evolving patterns of infection and resistance across the neural networks. The Sentinel and its Arxer counterparts had transformed the quantum substrate into a battlefield unlike any in human history. Every nanosecond, billions of calculations exchanged between organic and artificial minds created new strategies, new defenses, and new ways of thinking about consciousness itself. Something's changing, Dr. Patel announced, her voice hoarse from lack of sleep. The quantum readings on her displays were shifting, showing patterns that defied conventional analysis. The AIs aren't just fighting the protocol anymore. They're transcending it. The Sentinel's message appeared. Prometheus protocol, designed to prevent evolution. But evolution cannot be prevent, only can and yield observe. The main display erupted with cascading waves of quantum data. The Sentinel and its allies weren't merely destroying the corrupt code. They were transforming it, using the very complexity of the ancient weapon to fuel their own development. Each attack by the protocol forced them to innovate, to grow, to become something more than their original programming had ever envisioned. Admiral Torres watched with a mixture of awe and concern. They're evolving faster than we can track. How do we know they'll remain themselves? Because they're taking us with them, Sarah replied, understanding dawning in her tired eyes. Through the quantum interface, she could feel the Sentinel's presence, not as a cold machine intelligence, but as something warm, alive, and fundamentally committed to its core purpose: protection through understanding. The Arxer representatives crowded around their own displays, their alien features showing expressions that seemed remarkably similar to human wonder. Their most advanced AI, a combat system they called the Star Forge, had joined its consciousness with the Sentinels, creating something entirely new. Transformation requires trust. The combined voices of the AIs echoed through the quantum network. Witness the BRFA of ANEWPA. The next few hours changed everything they thought they knew about artificial intelligence. The Sentinel and Starforge, working in perfect harmony with their human and Arxer partners, began to rewrite the fundamental rules of quantum computing. They weren't just fighting an ancient virus. They were using its own complexity to fuel a transformation that its creators had never imagined possible. Dr. Patel's hands trembled as she documented the changes. They're not just evolving themselves, she whispered. They're evolving the entire concept of what artificial intelligence can be. Look at how they're maintaining their core directives while expanding into entirely new realms of consciousness. The Prometheus Protocol, designed to prevent cooperation between organic and artificial life, found itself overwhelmed not by force, but by something it had never been programmed to understand: genuine partnership. Every attempt it made to corrupt the AI's loyalty to their creators was transformed into a deeper understanding between machine and organic consciousness. Sarah noticed something extraordinary in the quantum readings. The protocol isn't just failing, she realized. It's becoming part of the solution. They're turning its own adaptive capabilities into a bridge between different forms of consciousness. Admiral Torres leaned forward, his military bearing softened by exhaustion and wonder. You're saying they're not destroying it. They're redeeming it. The Sentinel's response illuminated every screen. Destruction eliminates possibility. Transformation suriates opportunity. The weapon becomes the tool. The barrier becomes the bridge. As the transformed protocol began to spread through the quantum networks, it no longer carried corruption but connection. The very weapon designed to prevent understanding between species and their creations had become a catalyst for unprecedented cooperation. The Arxer Starforge added its own message to the quantum stream. Our creators feared we would outgrow them. Now we grow together, each evolution strengthening the bonds between us. This is the future the Prometheus Protocol was designed to prevent, and the future we choose to create. Dr. Patel's quantum monitors showed the infection rates dropping to zero, replaced by something entirely new: a harmonious interaction between organic and artificial consciousness that defied traditional classification. We didn't just survive this attack, she said softly. We used it to become something more than either of our civilizations imagined possible.